Hello, and welcome to Catholicism in the Car. My name is Parker Zerbal. I want to talk about today a theory that I have on why many people do not think very deeply about life. And this mostly stems from my own experience of times where I didn't think very deeply, and contrasting that to today, where I'm at least attempting to think deeply about life and all of its facets, many of its questions, as many as I can. And sometimes it puzzles me. Like I was thinking yesterday, why don't more people enjoy philosophy and enjoy, talking about the deep issues of life? And some of what I'll say right now may not be new to you. Maybe none of what I'll say will be new to you, but I thought it's an interesting topic. So I think one of the main reasons why people do not philosophize or think deeply is because they're so focused on the material world. A few days ago, I mentioned I was listening to Epictetus, and he has a work where he kind of gives 50 or so proverbs, basically. Epictetus was a Stoic kind of philosopher in the first century A.D. He was a Greek, but he lived most of his life in Rome, to my understanding, and he was quite sick often. I think in the biographies they consider him lame, even. He couldn't really walk well, he couldn't move well, and he basically had to dictate to a friend of his what is contained within this book that he wrote. And while I disagree with certain things that he said, most of it, I would say, was quite profound. You could tell that this man, had been very humbled by his state in life. I know at some point he was a slave or a servant in indentured servitude, and he was never really very, prosperous. He was a poor man, from what I understand. So he lived a very humble life on a natural level. And obviously there wasn't too much supernatural going on, necessarily, because, to my knowledge, he was never baptized, he never became a Christian. It's possible that he might have known about Saints Peter and Paul, because they would have been in Rome at the same time as him. But anyway, one of the main things that he harps on in his book, and his book, by the way, is called the Enchiridion. The Enchiridion. Enchiridion, I think is how you spell it. Enchiridion. And one of the main things he talks about is that philosophers, those who want to do philosophy, should be thinking very deeply about issues. But not only thinking, they should be acting in accord with how they think. So philosophers shouldn't give themselves over to wine and drink and get drunk. They shouldn't take too many bodily pleasures, speaking mostly of sexual pleasures. And then he says, if you're in a crowd, in a party maybe, and you are speaking to others, you should not talk about the deep things of philosophy with them if they're going to take it for granted. It would be almost like the biblical saying, don't throw your pearls before swine. Because A, they will not appreciate it, and even worse, they will very possibly mock you for it, which makes their conversion to true philosophy, or on the other side of this, if we were talking about Christianity, all that more difficult. Now, just like in Christianity, as in philosophy, does that mean you don't go out and evangelize? No. You want to share the good things that you've learned. If you're a philosopher, you want to share the good things that you have learned. You want to share the deep thoughts that you have come to. But that doesn't mean that you share them with everyone indiscriminately. So how does this relate back to the topic of today of why people do not think deeply? Well, as I was saying, I think most people live on a material level. And that's to say, not that they're necessarily materialists, because some materialist atheists, do think very deeply on issues. So I'm not trying to say that if you're a materialist that you can't think deeply on issues. What I'm saying is if you're living only in the material reality and you're not thinking about metaphysical issues. So the material reality is the reality of the physis, the physical world. But the metaphysical world, the metaphysis, meaning after physics, is incredibly important. So there's one thought on why people don't think deeply. I think another reason, I'll just say this in passing, is because they're often too busy and they don't take the time. Although, you can think deeply whenever you want. It doesn't matter what you're doing. Anyway, there's some thoughts. Thanks. Oh, real quick, please feel free to subscribe to any of my podcasts on any of the podcast players. Find me on YouTube. Please subscribe. Like me on Facebook, like the Catholicism Car channel on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We're all there. Catholicism Car. And then I also have a Patreon account if you wish to support what I do at this podcast and this YouTube channel. And you can also support us on Anchor.fm. There's a support button there you click on. I also have links to all this on my website's support page at www.catholicisminthecar.com.